Happy 4th of July, sci-fi and fantasy fans. Are you looking for some free science fiction and fantasy books to get you through this holiday weekend? We've got them. This week we have a cursed merman king, orcs and vampires, and a superhuman soldier called back into action to fight in an interstellar war. But before we get to all that, hi everybody, welcome to the MetaStellar YouTube channel. My name is Maria KOROLOV. I'm the editor here at MetaStellar, and I want to thank editors E.S. Foster and Lilibet Dominguez-Torres for helping me out today with the reviews. And Emma is here today. Hi, Emma.
Hi.
So I'm going to skip over all the boring administrative stuff that you've already heard before if you're a regular subscriber to the channel. If not, hi, welcome. And let's get straight to the books. Okay, this is book number 5. Let me make that a little bit bigger for you guys. Book number 5 is The Merman's King's Bride by Mona Black. We're going to count down from 5 to 1 on Amazon's top sci-fi and fantasy free book list. And the link to that list is in the description box below. You know, they're giving away free books every day. So this is the first of 3 books in the Cursed Fae Kings, a romantic fantasy series. The other books are $5 each and are not in Kindle Unlimited. Kindle Unlimited is where you pay $12 a month and you read all the books you want. This is the author's first time on our Free Friday list, and Emma read this for us. Emma, what did you think of the book?
I thought it was interesting to say the least. So I guess before getting started, I'll say that romance isn't really my thing, like Maria talks about all the time. So this story begins with Selena. She is a princess in a court in a fantasy kingdom. She lives there with multiple extended family members. And one day, she and one of her cousins goes into this forest because one of her other cousins dared her to pick some flowers. And these flowers are part of fairy country, so it's like this huge dare that she ended up having to do. Like the cousin who came with her was struck down with a Fey disease as a result, and it's something that Selena feels guilty about because she's perfectly fine. So after the whole ordeal, Selena wonders why she didn't get sick, and she feels very guilty about it, but she has to go back into the woods because while she was there, she accidentally dropped a pendant that is this special trinket from one of her suitors, and she really needs to have it because if she's not wearing it when that suitor comes to visit, it could be very catastrophic for the court because that's who she's betrothed to, and everyone wants everything to go smoothly since the kingdom hangs in the balance pretty much. At this point, I was thinking, girl, I don't think it's that important, but I'll just let you carry on. So she returns to the lake. She spots someone sitting on a rock on the shore. Not only is he a merman, she discovers on walking closer, but he's also holding her pendant, and it doesn't look like he's going to give it back. She tries to get the pendant back, but she's very distracted by the merman. She keeps talking about how handsome he is, of course, and they engage in some back and forth. He's messing with her because he knows that she really wants the pendant. And at one point, the merman insists, "Oh, you're not really a princess, you know. Princess wouldn't be out in the woods in the middle of the night." And I was thinking, well, that's what I've been saying, but he explains that only a princess can break his curse, which would allow him to transform back into his fae form and be able to walk back into his own world. Right now, he's stuck in his mermaid form, so he's stuck in this lake in the middle of the woods. But but the curse has to be broken with a kiss. And Selena is definitely not buying any of this, even though it does turn out to be true. And she is persuaded to kiss him because how handsome he is. But thankfully, she breaks away before anything else can happen, and she leaves without the pendant. But she does feel drawn to the lake again because of this merman, and she also isn't in love with her betrothed, so she's like, this guy is definitely a better alternative, but I know it's forbidden, that type of thing. So, like I was saying, I'm generally not a fan of romance like this, so it made for an interesting read, but the prose is clear and simple, it's very readable, so it makes it easy to get through and be invested in the story. And I was thinking, like, if you are interested in a quick and romantic read for the weekend, this is definitely something to check out. Like, I thought Selena was really funny when, like, from her character's perspective, and the prose was really simple and clear, so I definitely think that fans of this genre can check it out.
Thanks, Emma. Okay, so book number 4 on today's list. Let me make that a little bigger. There we go. Savage by Stan Smith, a standalone novel related to the 3-book Diffusion sci-fi adventure series. The other books are $4 to $5 each, but they're all in Kindle Unlimited. This is the author's first time on our Free Friday list. Um, so let's see. So I read this one, and I was expecting kind of like a Western with magic, maybe some sci-fi elements because of the hat the guy is wearing. But even though it's set in the same time period as Westerns, it's more like Robinson Crusoe or one of those other kind of adventure books set in the 1800s. So it's set in 1868 in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Papua New Guinea. And it's about a naturalist who's going back there, who's going out there in order to explore New Guinea and to find new animals and insects, kill them, mount them, and bring them back to England because, that's what they do. And the book is a diary told in the first person by Samuel himself. And he has a couple of Malay soldiers helping him out on his mission and a servant who's going to join him a bit later. So on the way to New Guinea, he stops through Singapore. He picks up a large collection of trade goods that he thinks might be interesting to the indigenous inhabitants of the island, like knives, cloth, thread, tobacco, and rum. And he lands in New Guinea. They don't eat him right away. He gives out all his gifts, and he hires 3 locals to build a house for him and help him hunt and gather his specimens. There's a couple of local traders there who act kind of as translators, and because they speak Malay, and he speaks some Malay, and then he starts picking up the local language. And their assistants buy him a house and go with him into the forest where they hunt the specimens for him. And then and he's got a bit of a weird relationship with the tribes, with the head of the tribe, and it's really not clear how they feel about him. And one day he comes back from one of these specimen gathering excursions, and the 2 soldiers who are supposed to be guarding his hut while he was gone, they've disappeared. And 2 fresh new skulls are hanging in the chief's hut. So that's a little creepy. And then the ship with his servant on it arrives. And the next ship won't come for 3 years. So if I was Samuel, I'd have gotten on that ship and left. But he's all excited about being there, and his servant's all excited about exploring this, this new territory. And so they decide to stay. The book is very, very slow and is told in a very old-fashioned style, a lot like Robinson Crusoe. And I used to be a big fan of those books when I was a little kid, but I don't think I'll be sticking with it. It feels a little weird to be reading that kind of thing now. And the whole idea of a white explorer going out and dealing with local savages is kind of like a weird thing to be reading about now, with our modern perspective. And it made me a little uncomfortable. And I don't know where the author is going with this later. I'm guessing that something mystical is going to happen or sci-fi-ish is going to happen, judging by the book's description. And he's going to have to rethink, how he thinks about the universe, or I don't know. But it's moving really slowly, and the writing style is a little hard for me to get through. So I don't think I'll be sticking with it. Next, we have Twilight Phantasies by Maggie Shayne, the first of 19 books in the Wings in the Night, an urban fantasy series. The other books are $3 to $5 each, but they're all in Kindle Unlimited. And the Wings in the Night urban fantasy series is on Amazon in 2 parts. Part 1 has 9 books, part 2 has 10 books. I've linked to both of those in the article, which is linked in the description box below, in case you can't find the second part. So Lilibet Dominguez Torres read this for us. So Emma, what did she think of the book?
Yeah, so she says that when the story starts out, it's about this vampire Eric and a human girl, Tamara, and it looks like all the chapters are going to be either from Eric or Tamara's perspectives. She says that throughout the first few chapters in the story, we get to see how Eric's life changed the day he was turned into a vampire. It was by this strange man who he's known all his life, but it saved him from being beheaded. So it seems like even though he might not exactly enjoy being a vampire, he still owes it to this person because he nearly died. She says after that, we jump to the future where we get to meet Tamara, the girl Eric has a connection with, it turns out. Tamara's plagued by nightmares. She's been like this all her life. Every night she longs for Eric. She doesn't know it's him though, because she never remembers that part of her dreams. So in her dreams, she sees this mysterious man, but she doesn't really know who it is. One night, she decides to sneak out to the skating rink and she ends up meeting Eric, or at least they have a very close encounter. That is until one of Tamara's guardians catches her talking to this weird, strange man in the dark. So they obviously get her away from Eric as soon as possible. And Lilibet says, from her point of view, the beginning of the story has an interesting setting. It seems like there's going to be an enemies to lovers romance type of thing. But she also says it felt a little rushed. Plus, she couldn't really tell if it was set in like the present world or the 90s with the way everyone was talking, even with the flashback to Eric's transformation. So that part was like a little lost in the story. She says she's not really a fan of the writing or the pacing, even though she's interested in the connection between the two main characters. So she's not interested enough to keep reading it, but she wants to recommend it to all fans of some good enemies to lovers stories or some good vampire stories.
All right, thank you. Okay, next we have book number 2 on today's list. There we go. And it's called Hymn of the Ancients by Evan Pickering. Let me make that a little bit bigger so you guys can see it. There you go. It's the first of 3 books in the Hymn of the Ancients, an epic fantasy series. The other 2 books are $5 and $6 each, but they're not in Kindle Unlimited. The third book isn't out yet, but is scheduled to be released in September, and you can pre-order it. And the author has been on our list before. And Emma read this for us. Emma, what did you think?
So I'm a huge fan of epic fantasy, and I was really excited to get into this one. It starts with this quick prologue. It's about this old monk. He's praying in the middle of the storm in this monastery cathedral type place. A stranger appears seeking shelter, and this monk is able to guess that this person is half orc because he also has tusks along with human teeth. He also realizes this stranger seemingly possesses very powerful magic, like he can sense it on this person's presence. Something that everyone thought the gods had taken away from everyone a long time ago. The monk even was just praying to the gods of this world, asking, when are you going to bring the magic back so that all of our problems could be solved, you know? And before the monk can figure out who the stranger is, he disappears, and he leaves behind this mysterious book. The story then cuts to the main character, Leo. He used to be of nobility, but now he has given all that up. He now travels the world in search of ancient relics. And he's basically what they call an excavator. And he goes to all of these cool places throughout the world, and he collects things that have belonged to the magic aspects of the world from days long past, which I find incredibly cool. They're scattered throughout the world, but right now, Leo isn't having any luck finding anything. And while he's searching, he's in this one plains, grassy type place. A group of knights find him, inform him he must appear in court for his crimes. Turns out that the relics he recently discovered had no right to be taken away. But then, 3 months later, we begin seeing things from another character's perspective. So Leo is successfully able to fight these guys off. He goes about his day. He doesn't really care about anything other than just being able to travel the world and break free of the noble line of his that he doesn't want to have any part of. The story shifts to Kajik's perspective next. And this guy is an orc. He's just led an army against a group of humans. He's taken one of them prisoner in the process. So it turns out that this army has enslaved Kajik's people, so this is his revenge. He forces the prisoner to fight against him to the death, and this human loses. As the prisoner dies, it's revealed that he is Leo's father, and Kajik plans to hunt down Leo because once the nobility is completely out of the way, he and his people can finally return home in safety. So, like I was saying, I'm a huge fan of epic fantasy. I was really excited to get into the story with all the information about like, the gods, churches, the relics. I love the overall atmosphere of the entire thing. And I also really liked the idea of someone's job being to find and catalog fantasy artifacts because that just proves to you without telling you that this world has existed with thousands of years of history, and it's something that as a reader you just really want to learn more about. And I will admit that the beginning is pretty slow. There are multiple POVs and a prologue on top of that, but if you enjoy epic fantasy, I recommend you try this one. I definitely am interested in continuing reading it.
Thanks, Summer. Now, before we go on to the number one book on today's list and the best book on today's list, it's just awesome. I want to thank our Patreon supporters, especially our newest supporter, Jean Marie Ward. Thank you, everybody who donates to our Patreon page. MetaStellar is run completely by volunteers. Emma and I volunteer, and so do all our other editors. We have several dozen people working on our team at this point. And all the donated money goes to pay for original fiction. We publish new short stories on our website every single week. So check out our site, metastellar.com. And if you like what we do, please support. We'd be so grateful. And all the money goes to our authors. And now on to book number one on today's free science fiction and fantasy bestseller list. And let me make that a little bit bigger for you guys so you can see it. Forsaken Commander by G.J. Ogden is the first of 10 books in the Eternian Wars space opera series. The other books are $4 each, but they're all in Kindle Unlimited. And several of those books are on sale today for 99 cents. Not all 10 books are out yet. Books 7 through 10 will be released in the next few months, but they are available for pre-order, and the author has been on our list before, more than once. And this book has over 1,000 5-star reviews, and I loved it. So I love books with spaceships on the cover, because I know just by looking at it, that's going to be space battles, action, and little or no romance. Because, I always prefer violence and mayhem to love and mushy stuff, because, I'm damaged. But yeah, so I was all over this book, exactly my kind of thing. And the premise of the book is that we're in the far future. Humanity is a spacefaring species and has split into a couple of factions. There's the good guys, in the war where the protagonist is from, and the bad guys. The bad guys are immoral because they've augmented themselves in various illegal ways, and they have a creepy dictatorship set up somewhere in unknown territory. And there have been wars between these two civilizations before, but the last one was decades ago. The good guys thought they won, and they beat their swords into plowshares. Or more exactly, they outlawed super smart AIs and the technology that makes humans immortal, destroyed their war spaceships, and shipped their augmented soldiers off into retirement and settled into a nice, peaceful existence. And now the bad guys are back. Our protagonist, Carter, was one of those augmented soldiers that humanity tried to wash their hands off of, and now they need him again. He's super strong, has super healing, he can live practically forever, and he's been living the life of a recluse way out in the world in the middle of nowhere, hunting wild pigs for food. He doesn't want to come back into service, although if I was him, I'd jump at the chance. His life seems really horrible, and all the locals hate him because he's augmented and doesn't age like they do. And we first meet him when he's out hunting one of these hogs, and a captain from Union Intelligence, those are the good guys, has come out to try to talk to him and try to convince him to come back. And she winds up having to go into the wilderness alone and almost dies because of all the poisonous local plants and the deadly man-eating hogs. And Carter patches her up. They go to a local bar for drinks, and she fills him in on what's happened to the rest of the augmented soldiers. A handful are still alive. Some died in random accidents. A large number of them committed suicide. While they're in the bar, some of the locals pick a fight, which doesn't go well for the locals because they had pool cues and they're going up against an augmented soldier. I guess they haven't learned anything from decades of living next to this guy. Anyway, so he fights them off. He's not quite ready to sign back up with the military, but he agrees to go talk to the admiral. I like the premise and the setting. I like Carter. I do have some doubts about the captain. If she's supposed to be in intelligence, she's not very good at it. Why did she go into the wilderness completely unprepared? Was it just a ploy to force Carter into being a hero and save her, to bring his old training and instincts back? I don't know. I guess I'll find out soon enough because I plan to keep reading. This book is awesome. I'm looking forward to it. I expect to read the entire series. All right, and that is it for today's Free Friday list. Let me know in the comments if you plan to read any of these books, and if you did read them, what did you think? And if you don't want to miss any of these reviews, like and subscribe or get them in your email by signing up for our newsletter. All the links are in the description box below. And if you don't want to leave our channel just yet, let me see if I can do this, Emma. Last time I messed this up. So, okay, if you don't want to leave our channel just yet, we're serializing Gods and Monsters, a vampire novel by award-winning artist and author E.E. King. Our interview with the author is here, and the recording of the author reading the first installment of the book is here. We're now up to installment number 16 on both our website and on this channel. Subscribe if you don't want to miss an episode. And thank you, Emma, for joining me today. It was great having you. Looking forward to seeing you again next Friday. And thanks, everybody. We'll see you again next Friday. Bye-bye.
Bye.